Fala, meu povo, tudo bem com vocês? E os europeus estão loucos da vida, mano, com o John Textor, tá? O Lyon acaba de ser rebaixado para a segunda divisão do campeonato francês. Fica ligado aí, eu vou mostrar as reações aí da mídia, o que eles estão falando sobre John Textor e Lyon rebaixado para a segunda divisão. Se liga aí.
Who sold his stake in Crystal Palace to New York Jets owner Woody Johnson, as we reported here on Scoreline yesterday. They finished 6th in Ligue 1 last season. This is the response that they have posted on X a little bit after the decision was made. Olympique Lyonnais acknowledges the incomprehensible decision rendered by the DNCG tonight and confirms that it will immediately file an appeal. They go on to say that they have worked closely with the financial bodies to satisfy all of the requests in terms of what they needed to show with these financial numbers. They felt that they had done enough to prove that they shouldn't be relegated from Ligue 1, but at the moment they have pending appeal. For more on this, let's chat to our French football correspondent, Tom Williams. Tom, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. What's been the reaction to this news there in France? Because as I said there, this is one of the big traditional clubs in French football, isn't it?
Good evening, gents. Yes, it is. And the reaction in France has been one of huge shock. We knew that Lyon had this meeting coming up, but all the noise around the club the last few days has been extremely positive. John Textor, who attended the hearing in person in Paris, couldn't have been more positive even after the meeting. He said he enjoyed the hearing. He said that he felt that the relationship between Lyon's decision makers and French football's financial watchdog was much healthier, that the DNCG, which is the name of that body, had a better understanding of how the Eagle multi-club ownership group works. There was a piece in L'Equipe, the French sports newspaper, this morning talking about how Lyon seemed to have sorted things out. And so for this decision to have been announced, it's really taken everyone by surprise. And like you say, Lyon are one of the most historic clubs in French football, 7-time Ligue 1 champions, 2-time Champions League semi-finalists. They were, as things stand, they're due to play in Europa League next season. They seem to be moving in the right direction on the pitch, and then all of a sudden, the sky appears to be falling in on their heads.
And what do we know about this appeal process? Because obviously that is what they are pinning their hopes on. It is always the thing that we see in these sorts of press releases. We will appeal. What does that actually mean?
So Lyon have the right to appeal. They can appeal directly to the DNCG, which is the organisation that has handed down this punishment. Lyon haven't yet been given the formal reasons behind the decision. At some point in the next couple of days, probably they will receive a letter from the DNCG setting this punishment has been decided upon. Once they've received that letter, they then have 7 days to launch an appeal, and they will have an opportunity to provide the DNCG with more information to show that their accounts are in a healthier position than the DNCG has deemed that they are. With the DNCG to reject that appeal, they could then take their case to the French Olympic disciplinary organisation, which would have the possibility to overturn the decision. There would also potentially be the chance to take a more classic legal route and kind of go through the French courts. But with the next Ligue 1 season now less than 2 months away, they don't have a huge amount of time. So I think trying to prove the DNCG that they do have enough money to start next season and to get through next season, that's going to be key if they're to avoid winding up in the French second tier for the first time since 1989.
And Tom, what would that mean if they do go down, get relegated into Ligue 2? What does that mean for the club? Some of these players, presumably the salary levels that they're on in Ligue 1 won't be what they would be getting paid in Ligue 2. What's going to happen with all these players?
Completely. I mean, Lyon have been trying to build a squad capable of qualifying for the Champions League. They weren't that far off this season. They ended up in the Europa League. At the same time, they've been trying to generate revenue by moving players on. Ryan Shaki, most notably, joining Manchester City recently. So they've been trying to walk this tightrope between, maintaining a competitive squad and balancing the books. But if they find themselves in the second tier, you suspect that they are going to have to move on, some of those other star players. One player who's been talked about quite a lot in recent weeks is Malik Fofana, really exciting young Belgian winger who's been linked with Chelsea. Were Lyon to somehow avoid this relegation, he's the kind of player that they would want to hold on to. But if they do find themselves in Ligue 2, players like Fofana and probably several others will be looking at opportunities to leave and to play for a club that is able to offer them, the kind of standing that they probably think they deserve.
There are several American angles to the story. One is, of course, that the owner himself is an American. John Textor owns that multi-club model with Eagle Football. But the other is that Lyon had agreed a transfer with Nottingham Forest for the goalkeeper, Matt Turner. Does that mean that move is potentially off, and might Turner be looking for a club elsewhere?
Very hard to say at the moment until we've seen, the full explanation of the DNCG's decision. You go back to January. Lyon were barred from signing any new players. They managed to bring in Thiago Almada from another club in the Eagle network, which was not exactly welcomed by Lyon's rivals in Liga. So they were already having to be quite creative when it comes to player recruitment. I think the fact that that this punishment has been handed down, that's going to be the focus for the next few days, getting that appeal in. And I think for players like Matt Turner and other players who would have thought they were on the point of joining Lyon, it is going to plunge them into a really because, as things stand, it's very difficult to project forward with any kind of certainty, given that, as things stand, Lyon are going to be a Ligue 2 club next season. What will that mean for, the players that they're able to sign? So, a lot of question marks around their capacity to recruit players at the moment.
And I want to ask about the American John Textor as well. We saw some of the images in this segment alone where he's wearing that big cowboy hat as a big, colorful character. He's picked public fights with a PSG owner, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, went to Brazil, won the Libertadores with Botafogo. He's an interesting character. Is it now one of those situations where, because he has plunged this club into this level of debt, that he is kind of seen on the level of maybe the Glazers at Manchester United? You're going, this one individual person has gotten us relegated. What is the reaction now to Textor from the Lyon fans?
Textor's had a huge impact on French football. He's very outspoken. He shoots from the hip. He has ruffled feathers in the French game right from his arrival. I think some things he's done have won him admirers. The fact that he's been prepared to stand up to Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the PSG president. There aren't many other prominent figures within French football who've been prepared to do that. And, you go back to last summer, Textor was one of the few club owners who was trying to make a case for Ligue 1 setting up its own TV channel. In the end, they went with DAZN. That deal fell through, and they find themselves 12 months on having to set up their own TV channel. So you could argue that this is something that he saw coming. Having said that, there's also an awful lot of uncertainty around Textor. He's someone who speaks with a huge amount of confidence. He said all along, no chance Lyon are going to get relegated. The club's in a really healthy position. He was saying the same things today after the hearing with the DNCG, and yet Lyon supporters find themselves now, staring down the barrel of a season in Ligue 2. The reaction to that announcement, the reaction against John Textor, has been pretty extreme. The Bad Gun supporters group, who are Lyon's biggest and most significant supporters group, very quickly put out a statement saying that they'd had enough of Textor. They wanted him out of the club. He wasn't the right man for the current situation. They described him as a Botafogo supporter, someone who wasn't fully implicated in what's been happening at Lyon. Sidney Govou great former Lyon player. He's spoken out critically about Textor. He said, he's pulled the wool over our eyes. He's constantly selling us things and making it sound like everything's going to be okay. And then look what happens. We find ourselves being relegated to the second tier. So it'll be very difficult for Textor to come through this with his reputation unscathed. I think if Lyon do go down to Ligue 2, he will be held personally responsible by an awful lot of Lyon supporters, an awful lot of people within French football. And I think even if they somehow manage to wriggle out of this, it's really going to leave a stain against his reputation in France.
Então vocês viram aí, gente, pessoal falando sobre a Liga Francesa e que o Lyon foi rebaixado para a segunda divisão. O Lyon ainda pode recorrer a isso, ele pode voltar para a primeira divisão. O Lyon está classificado para a Europa League lá, aquele campeonato tipo sul-americano aqui na América do Sul, mas ele está classificado, pelo menos por hoje o Lyon está rebaixado. O que eles estão falando é da questão do John Textor, né? O John Textor ele tem uma empresa, né, chamada Eagle, que essa Eagle ela faz a gestão de vários clubes de futebol, entre eles o Lyon e o Botafogo. Tanto que o Botafogo ele contrata vários jogadores, os jogadores ficam por um período aqui e acabam se transferindo para o Lyon. Por exemplo, o Lucas Perry, a gente viu também o Thiago Almada, agora a gente tem um argentino Montoro, que é um menino lá da Argentina, bom de bola pra caramba, que pode se transferir pro Lyon a partir do ano que vem. Tem essas questões aí. O problema é a questão financeira do Botafogo. Do Lyon. O que falam é que o John Textor usou muito do lucro do Botafogo, principalmente ganhando o Brasileirão, ganhando a Libertadores, para cobrir um rombo financeiro do Lyon, tá? Agora, os franceses estão puto pra caramba com o John Textor. Mais pra frente a gente coloca um outro vídeo do Equipe, que é um jornal tradicional lá na França, e também tem a parte de futebol deles. E eles estão muito irritados com o John Textor. A capa de hoje do Equipe é praticamente detonando o John Textor, tá bom? Galera, peço para vocês deixarem um like, se inscrever no nosso canal. Peço também que você compartilhe esse vídeo com seus amigos, tá? Lembrando, isso aqui não é contra o Botafogo, tá? O Botafogo não tem nada a ver com isso. Isso é uma questão do John Textor com o Lyon. Coloque nos comentários. Muito obrigado por tudo. Fica com Deus. Valeu!